What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to College COD. Week 5 matches have been kicking off, and things have been stirring up kind of crazy, like as far as top 25 rankings are concerned. My name is Proper. Joined with me is the Katie Bedford, and well, Katie, we have ourselves yet another fantastic matchup. Within the top 20, we will be taking a look at Northwood University going up against University of Michigan's the Wolverines to be able to maybe make a statement for what they can do in this division.
What I think, after watching the Saints and Panthers, these are the two teams that both of them had lost to, correct?
That's right.
So now we're going to get to see the juggernauts, right? You have Northwood right now, ranked, I think, number 2 overall. Michigan right behind them, number 17. And, well, one is walking away with their first loss. 7-0 right now for Northwood, 8-0 for Michigan. And, I mean, the stat lines are just so dominant. Northwood leading the charge when it comes to hard point, and Michigan, when it's S&D, a 9-0 S&D record is very impressive. So I'm excited to see this. When there is a first ever loss on the line, Proper, that's when you know these teams are going to go extra hard.
Yeah, it's that first seed coming out of the Northeast Division A pool that these two teams are going to be playing up against as you see the head-to-head playoff in front of your very eyes. The hard point definitely screams, obviously, more successful for Northwood. On the opposite side, the Search and Destroy, as Katie said, undefeated is U of M heading in towards this matchup. And when you're thinking about that one loss, again, when we were framing up the Saints versus the Panthers, now, St. Clair Saints in week number 1, they did, in fact, beat Northwood on that Search and Destroy. And Fame immediately took it to Twitter as well. It was very caught off guard that if that's how College COD is going to be playing Search and Destroy, then he better be ready for any sort of wrenches in the system. It is not your average run-of-the-mill when it comes down towards Search and Destroy. It's what they're going to be used to, as we will see this roster coming through for the Timberwolves first and foremost. You're going to be recognizing a lot of names on this screen. If you are a fan of North American Call of Duty Challengers, going to be none other than Fame as their captain, Chris Radial, Bink, and Infinite. Now, these 4 players, Katie, have definitely been making their strides on different teams, but the player that you really have to look out for to really make an impact is got to be Radial. Of course, not qualifying for the double elimination playoff bracket for North American Challengers Elite, was still in the running to be a top 4 team, no less.
Well, if it holds true, the players that are involved in the challenger scene within that AM area, what we saw from Anthrax, those are the players that seem to really shine in these series. So if you're a player within that same realm, eyes will be on you, right? We will look to see what kind of impact you can have consistently on the map, because if you're within challengers, if you're within that AM scene, then you should be putting up good numbers here. You should be able to have dominant takeover maps for your team, especially if you're ranked number 2. I expect you to be as dominant as your ranking dictates.
You better be, says Katie. And now as we take a look at U of M, again, a team that people were not really respecting when it came down to the top 25 rankings, and candidly so, because, you know, when you go in towards the beginning of the season, a lot of these players, again, were essentially nobodies. Nobody knew who they were. Nobody knew how they were going to be able to stack up against teams like the St. Clair Saints that then introduced them to the top 25 rankings, then beating the Davenport Panthers. That boosted them up to ranked number 17 in most people's eyes. Decim, Flame, Lord Memory, and Talon, Katie, if there are players that you have to watch out for, Flame loves the flank. He exists on it. He lives or dies by it. Lord Memory is that player that in the SMG duo to Blame that you can definitely rely on to be able to hit things up from the gut and try to break things from the front.
And those flanks, especially, maybe that's a testament to why they're undefeated so far in Search and Destroy. If you are that scrappy player, if you are that frustrating backline player in things like Search and Destroy, that can make you an impossible player to deal with on the map. And let's take a look at those maps now and see exactly where we're going. Will not be the same as what we saw in our first series. And while we're sticking it out with the Bocage, chaos all the time on this map, and more often than not, it feels like time simply runs out, then someone manages to get to 250, and then, well, we will see another Tuscan Search and Destroy, a Gavutu Control, and Berlin. I hope we can get to a Berlin, because we haven't seen that yet in the first series. It was going to be the potential for the map 5, but I would love to get there.
Yeah, same here. Just to be able to get more Search and Destroy, truthfully, and honestly, I've been casting over Fame, Chris, Bink, and Infinite as far as Search and Destroy is concerned with feels like an eternity at this point, but even still, we have to get there first and foremost. And you really feel like that if this map number 1 goes decisively for Northwood, the Timberwolves come out and absolutely trample over top of U of M. And that could really set off the vibes, the momentum, setting themselves up for that Tuscan search and destroy. Again, a lot of SMG presence is what we're going to end up seeing for those first 2 maps. Again, Blame, Lord Memory, and Decim. Probably going to be looking at those players with the SMGs as far as what U of M can offer for themselves. You're going to have a star-studded roster to be able to combine yourself into. Just hold out going in towards that Gavitu control. Maybe keep that opening hardpoint really, really contested. And then showcase your strengths on that search and destroy to be able to battle your way out versus the ranked number 2 team. Look, you've already upset so many other people's top 25 rankings as a whole. You've already found yourself here, ranked number 17. Why stop there? Continue on with that momentum. Continue to prove your worth. And from everybody else sitting at home, why we have to respect U of M as a Call of Duty team.
Well, I think Bokaj is a great map to start an upset on because it's a weird map. No matter if you're getting spawned out, a spawn out is what, 10 feet away from the hill as opposed to 5 feet away when you spawn in. So you always get a massive amount of interactions, very high kill counts from players on this map just by its chaotic, close-knit nature for Bokaj. So I think definitely a potential upset for them there. We've seen more than enough times where teams will get a full wipe and maybe it doesn't end up helping at the end of the day depending on what hill you're going to on Bokaj and how things are playing out. So they can definitely get it done. I mean, their hardpoint record isn't terrible. And if we have an ode back to Saints and Panthers, well, they were the ones who were 10-6 and won the first hard point. Granted, they lost everything after that, but maybe we'll see the same thing from Michigan because if they can lead into their undefeated S&D already a map up, that will bode very well for them. But I think it's just about time proper for us to get into Bokaj. And if there's one thing I know, there's going to be a very high body count on either side of these teams.
Yeah, I mean, how influential would it truly be not only to decisively take map number 1, but if you're Blame, Lord Memory, First Radio Fame, hell, even Pink and Infinite could also do it at the same time. You put up a massive stat line, I'm talking like 50, 60 bombs coming all the way through. Drop me a kill record for CCL on this map mode combo for all I care. Make it decisive, define yourself as for one of these colleges. Everybody, just from namesake alone, has been putting this Northwood roster at number 2 for their power rankings, and you have to be able to showcase why. The U of M roster, you cannot take lightly. I think that a lot of other teams in this Division A for the Northeast region have already found out to realize that they are certainly a team that can definitely bring it, albeit when they end up going up against the Panthers last week, that, again, the Panthers were the clear-cut favorite. Again, from rankings aside, just from the namesake alone, I was ready to almost set it apart that Lord Memory started off really, really slow, but then they picked up the pace, and I got to see what the chemistry really did look like for this Michigan Esports roster. You're going to need all of that plus some more. You just can't allow yourself to get frustrated because we know that there's one big discrepancy in between the tiers of Call of Duty as a whole with the representation that we do have from Radio, Fame, Bink, and Infinite on Northwood, is that they will try to set the pace in a manner that they don't expect a lot of these collegiate teams to be able to match.
Well, and that's big, that pacing. We've talked about it before, but if you are hyper aggressive on the map, if you are constantly in pushed forward positions that people aren't anticipating, if you are constantly getting in people's faces and challenging them, that can be very unsettling for a team if they're not able to match that level of aggression. Now, granted, the downside, if you're not winning the gunfights, then it's not going to play out for you very well. But I think if you're the second place team right now in the rankings, I expect for you to win this, and that should be the expectation for anyone looking at a 15-team discrepancy in the rankings between these two. But hey, Michigan, they've already been playing upset to teams. Maybe they'll get something a little crazy here against Northwood, but I think it starts with them getting that map 1 win and stringing it together with a 10-0 record for S&D if they can lock down that Tuscan search and destroy for map number 2. But let's get right into things. Northwood and Michigan going head-to-head, and a nice Bokaj where there will be no breaks. There will be no moments to breathe. This is a map that gets chaotic very, very quickly, and I think we'll see... how many streaks do you think we're going to see on the map?
I don't even know. All I can say is, for one thing is for certain, and I was joking around with my my buddy Nick Zott. Some of you might know him in chat. Some of you might know him here in the Discord as well, is that Nick was just saying that the 3 pieces aren't as influential anymore. That gets heightened here on Bokaj. You need to find at least a 6 piece. And there's only 4 players on the enemy team. That's how fast players are going to be coming all the way through. If you can get streaks, baller. Love to see it. But you have to be able to hold your life for what is the mixiest hard point that we have on Vanguard starting off from the opening rip. Will end up being U of M starting off on that favored side so far. They are at least influencing the spawns, but as soon as you can end up saying who's influencing what spawns, it is Bocage. Engagements happen left, right, and center. A clean kill feed. At least a resemblance is starting to come through from Northwood. Decim can't lock down the second, as Northwood Esports are starting to get themselves some position to be able to encourage forward as they hold the west side of the map.
And it was looking a little shaky at the beginning for Northwood. You have Lord Memory coming in, getting some key double pieces to open up the map. But beyond that, it was a full squad wipe, and it's Northwood leading the charge through the rest of the end of P1. And now they're going to get prepared. Look at that spawn from Radial all the way in the top left. And what I liked the most about that is that they set up that spawn for P2 very early on into P1. So even if they initially were giving up that time, well, it ends up paying off for them as they get prepared to set up here on P2 and widen this lead as much as they can. No streaks out of anyone just yet, but so far so good for Northwood Esports. But as I say that, well, the whole kill feed goes the way of Michigan. They're able to break onto the point, and now things are looking a little bit dangerous. You have the spawn, so Northwood, what can you do to try and break onto this hill?
Gonna be players from the back. They know how influential those tin spawns can honestly be to be able to really upset what is the, well, realistically, the only money hell that we have here on Bocage is this tank formation over here on 2. But the spawns are wishy-washy. You keep going back and forth. Blame for 2. Infinite will find 2 in between all of that. And, well, it's just going to mean that Michigan Esports can set themselves up for the back of the scrap time. Northwood Esports, you can send 2 players to maybe try to contest the last little bit of scrap time. Here comes Chris out from the barn. Will end up at least dealing with Memory and has a good look at Decim as soon as they pick up a fallen enemy's automaton to clean up one player in towards the back. This was a double-edged sword. Keep Michigan Esports off the scrap time while you still influence the head spawns going in towards Grandma's.
This has just been a beautiful play from them. Yes, you give up a little bit of time, but in the meantime, you're sending Blink all the way over to anchor those spawns and prep you for P3. You're already on the rotation and set up, forcing Michigan to run into the barrels of your guns and doing a good job of winning those gunfights. And now, Michigan, it's just going to be such a slog for them. They're able to break into the house and maybe come down from the top is going to be Infinite stopping the push. A nice 3 spree for him, keeping it alive to allow Northwood to stabilize. I think Michigan, a moment there, maybe missed for them as they're pushed back into the top left, forced to respawn and run back into Radial, who, well, at 9 and 7 on a 3 spree, is looking to get himself some streaks. And with a little help from Fame, this is a beautiful hill for Northwood. It feels like they're starting to run away with this.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, a 50-point lead on Bocage is certainly a discrepancy that you do not want to be seeing, especially when you do have Blame leading U of M at 10 and 8, but the Wolverines, they need more. They need to be hungry, and they need to be able to find themselves convincing kill feeds. 11 and 8, 10 and 8, now 10 and 9 for Chris. But as we go from the little hop, skip, and a jump from Grandma's across the street over towards Barn, will be Michigan Esports at least set up for the time being, and they're starting to find themselves a favorable kill feed. The problem is that the Timberwolves still have those north-south spawns. Players inside of that tin area, players also spawning inside of the shed. You need to be able to keep your head on swivel, win as many gunfights as possible on 2 different fronts. It does not come up in the favor for the Wolverines as the Timberwolves have broken in.
And I love that double kill out of Infinite because you had both remaining players of Michigan on the point, focused on Blink. Infinite was able to come in from the side and clean them up, and another double puts him at 4. Can he work on the streaks? I think maybe just shy, but Infinite, a menace on the map right now. At 14 and 6, and now Northwood once again back on the point, and we'll see. Hey, we talked about the streaks. Who's going to get them first? None other than Northwood. They have been so good on these early rotations, unlocking those spawns now, but now a little bit of a struggle here because Michigan, they've got the spawns for the hill. They're winning some of those gunfights to at least push Northwood off for the time being, but the downside, right, is that they're also not on the hill. So yes, you win some key gunfights, you stall Northwood out for a moment, but you were not then able to turn that into any time on the hill at all.
Let's be candid, sometimes those head spawns are not necessarily what you always want. If Northwood starts to put you with the blender like that, you can end up getting spawn trap of battling out. Finally, here comes U of M, able to resurface themselves down to the scrap time here at 5, and the scrap time, as far as the first set is concerned, 131, counting on up for Northwood Esports as Michigan are trying to quite literally claw their way back in towards this game. Things were close going in towards the second hard point, but inside of 3, The Timberwolves really started to run away with it. They get themselves a favorable kill feed time and time again. 16-9 start from Infinite. Chris is up to 17-14. Fame right behind them at 16-14. Everybody just positive to some extent when it comes down to the Timberwolves, but Blame's making a giant argument for it on the opposite side. Does find two. Opens it up for Talon to be able to clean up one on the back end. T1 is not necessarily notorious from being a hard point that you can get a lot of time off of, and, well, that's exactly why the Timberwolves are able to resurface themselves, pinch things up. They get all of the Michigan Esports players off.
Yeah, Talon had a good play there for a moment, was able to get two on the back end, but just when the rest of the team's all losing the gunfights, it doesn't matter how good a play is, it's just going to fall apart, and you see blips of Michigan in this kill feed, but you're seeing a whole lot of Fame, you're seeing a whole lot of blue Northwood as they lock down this hill. Now 100+ lead for them as the final amount of scrap time goes to pretty much no one here at P1. And take a look already, Infinite prepared for the rotation over to P2. They have the spawns, they're feeling comfortable, but maybe Lord Memory can make something happen. He gets the first kill, he wins the double in Barn, and just like that, Blame with a double to be able to follow it up alongside Lord. What looked like Northwood's nice rotation over to P2. We'll see Michigan on the point.
The only issue was that nobody was able to get in the backside of 10, Katie, so that means that all of the Timberwolves actually spawned down over by the Riverwalk, and that means that they're going to be able to put themselves in a position, all off of the streak being called in by Fame, to try to resurface themselves over by P2. Again, has been a money hill for a lot of different teams, even here in the CCL, and Michigan just simply didn't read it. Now Blame's trying to at least rectify being broken early there on P2 with a glide bomb of their own, but they just come up with information. Again, pinstripe kill feed is not going to be favorable for Michigan to be able to battle their way in from scrap time. Now Northwood got themselves about 110-point some odd lead going in towards P3, and to be able to say that you need to be able to lock down a full 60 on a map like Bocage is wishful thinking, but it needs to start here for Michigan.
It needs to start maybe a couple hills ago. I mean, it's 200-72. I don't see a world in which you come back from this unless there's some sort of mental collapse out of Northwood. And the way that they're winning these gunfights, there's such dominance on the map from them. They're already on the point. They're already locking it down. They can win it on this hill with about 4 or 5 seconds to spare. And I mean, you've got a 3 spree out of Radial right now. They are pushing them so far back. I mean, they haven't even gotten a solid contest onto the hill yet, and they're going to need to do that. Radial now on a 5 spree, mowing everyone down, make it 6, and they are making this look far too easy. If you are Michigan, you need to wake up, you need to make something happen. I don't know if they'll be able to, because now just 10 seconds away for Northwood to close out a dominant map number 1. Finally, Michigan stopping the bleeding for just a second, but only for so long, as you're going to have to string together some perfect hard point if you want a shot.
Perfect hard point on Bocage doesn't exactly come every full moon. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, it's not looking too good for the Wolverines. The Timberwolves are just winning the battles outright, but Decim making an argument for it. Let's find 3 inside of 4. Gotta really hold things out here if you are the Wolverines, because Northwood Esports, they are hungry to work their way back in, and I believe that is Chris. Yes, it is. Radio calls in another glide bomb. Bink picks up 2. There's the break soon to follow. 1 more player on the staircase. And that will be the final nail in the coffin, you would think. Just a few more straggling members coming back in, trying to contest as long as they possibly can, just stray gunfights, trying to delay the inevitable are Michigan Esports, and that will be the final point, picking on over Northwood Esports with a definitive 100-point club against Michigan Esports, 250-88.
Well, the team that's undefeated in hardpoint make it 12-0 now. Northwood showing us just why that is their record. But Michigan, now you're coming up to your undefeated game mode, 9-0 in Search and Destroy. They must answer back there. I think with the way we've seen Northwood play already, if you go down 0-2 in this matchup, I don't see a world in which they're going to make a reverse sweep a possibility. But Northwood, they looked like they were in the driver's seat from the very beginning of that map all the way to the focus. Even though they lost out on the initial points on P1, not even bothered. They were prepping themselves to have spawns and have positioning for P2, and there was just never a moment where Michigan was able to make it look particularly competitive.
Look, I will say this much. Like, I'm not hating when it comes down to UFM. They've made a fan out of me after beating Davenport just last week. Casting over top of that match was quite eye-opening when it came down to what the Wolverines have to offer, but I'm just a realistic Call of Duty analyst that watches on all different levels here at College COD, all the way up to the CDL, and I bring up the pace once again, Katie, and it's something that is almost very unrealistic when it comes down to a game mode like Hardpoint on a map like Bocage, that when you are going up against a, quite honestly, in collegiate esports, a star-studded lineup for the SMG presence there of Northwood Esports, to be able to do what you see here on your screen. 35 and 23, 25 untraded kills for Chris, Radial, Bink, right behind them, 29-17 for 22 untraded kills. And Fame, they're going positive, 26 21. Everybody went positive. I don't even know why I'm trying to gas up one player at a time here, Katie. It was just a pacing differential that you got out from the Timberwolves that the Wolverines just simply could not meet. Blame certainly tried to make a giant argument for it. Desem was fighting a lot of damage, but the confirmation of eliminations plus the map positioning alone to break inside hardpoints, get influential spawns to recontest, everything was all crossed to a high degree for Northwood Esports to walk away with this 100-point club on the opening hard.
And just look at the damage as well. The only one who even attempts to break into the damage range of Northwood is going to be Blame at 2.8. Everyone else has a lower damage amount than the entirety of Northwood. And that means that's what you want to see. Yes, you have a standout performance from Radial at 35 and 23. But on top of that, the entire team winning their gunfights, that is going to be very hard to pick apart, very hard to try and find the cracks in the armor to be able to exploit. And well, if there's ever going to be cracks for Michigan to make a comeback to tie up this series, it's going to start on a Tuscan search and destroy. You are undefeated. This should be your playground. You need to go into it with confidence, and that's what we talk about. If you get, 250 to 88 on a Bocage, you have to put that behind you proper. You have to forget about it, because you can't let that mentality stick with you right now. Ignore it. Move on to S&D. It's your bread and butter. This is where they should shine.
2, 3, and 5. It's a very realistic win condition for a lot of teams at all different tiers when it comes down to Call of Duty. To be able to say, look, we're not a hardpoint team. We want to be able to have a definitive search and destroy and control. Those objective game modes can absolutely be a win condition, albeit very risky to, not necessarily guarantee yourself those hard points. But at the same time, if you can extend it to a map 5 and be a star-studded search and destroy team, I'm all here for it. And with that being said, going into this map mode combo, this is where my eyes were bulging out of my skull last week when I was watching the Wolverines take on the Panthers, is that this is where the Old Testament of playing your Call of Duty, not their Call of Duty, was quite relevant. And this needs to be a continuation if you are the Wolverines. You have to play your Call of Duty. You have to be able to play proactively and react to what is being offered coming out from the Timberwolves. That if the Timberwolves are going to continue on with this pace of trying to run things down in the middle of the map, try to get in your face with the SMG presence, you have to be able to negate that quite kindly with a couple of good set nades, a couple of good stuns to the middle of the map. Don't allow the SMGs from Northwood to be able to run you down offense and defensive like. You have to be able to collect on the unforced errors that could be offered for the more aggressive team that I can only imagine will probably be Northwood.
Well, Northwood especially, if you're Michigan, on a map like Tuscan, you cannot allow those SMGs on Northwood to control the middle of the map. You cannot give them fountain control. You cannot allow them to maintain control in and around that church area. So I think anticipate that hyper aggression. Anticipate that they are going to be pushed forward into positions you may not expect. And if you can counteract some of that hyper aggression, maybe punish them for it, get some of those kills when people are anticipating, hey, people aren't usually in this spot, but Northwood, they like to push up, maybe a little too far. Wait for it. Wait for them, if you can, to come to you. Be a little too aggressive and shut it down as we prepare now for round number 1 on Tuscan here. Northwood, a dominant lead coming out of that hard point, 250 to 88. Looking to give us a 2-0 lead. This would be Michigan's first loss in search and destroy. Both of these teams undefeated, so there's going to be some loss first, depending on how things go here. And Michigan, a must-win for them, I think, proper.
Absolutely. I mean, to be able to even up the series count for 1 versus the number 2 ranked team of Northwood University would be massive within its own right. But I raise it on the opposite side, that if Northwood win this as cleanly and decisively as possible, not only will that fully define them as a number 2 team, but really the number 1 team walking away inside of this division. Quick A hit coming through, but no one was surprised. It's definitely the favorable bomb site. Chris is stuck in a sniper gunfight, but Blame actually finds the timing in the middle of the map to find Infinite, and that's even before the bomb gets planted.
That's actually huge. Now you have bomb down. Michigan's going to be aware of that. It is a 3-3 situation for you. But having the bomb stranded there, especially with Blame being able to pick up 2 on the round, is a great moment for them to pick apart Bink and Fame. As I say that, Fame able to get one of his own now. 2-2, and Lord Memory fighting for his life, trying to answer back. No support will be available to him as Blame trying to work his way over toward that bomb site. And now Fame takes a pick, and suddenly Michigan, what was an opening for them to take a nice defense, now Bink and Fame in a 2v1, but you have 35 seconds. You got to get that bomb planted. You got to make something happen. And, well, you also might just want to try and find exactly where this player is, and you both fly together. Sometimes the easiest way to guarantee a round is just hold hands until you find that other player.
Love holding hands here on College COD. It's just one of those things again that is just an old search and destroy victory like lap. I mean, when you have the numbers advantage like that, what's the best way to be able to do it? Yeah, hold hands, skip through, frolic together, bed of roses, more analogies coming through, and I think for Northwood are fully able to recognize that. Worst comes to worst, when you do have that numbers advantage, that you're able to find the trade. Most importantly, Fame walks away with finding 3 in the round. So 2 kills away from getting themselves a glide bomb. On a defensive round, they are giving a lot of respect, a lot of map position for Michigan to try to make the play. And that's actually forcing them to think twice about the positions, but all of the positions that you see Northwood holding on the map comes by way of set nades, will be traded up as Decim does find Fame.
Fame, no streak, a big kill out of Michigan there, but you also gave up a round 1 offense. Offense on this map is tricky to lock down, so you don't really want to give one to Northwood that early on. And now Northwood with the numbers advantage, trying to hold on to it. Radial just peeking over those roses, trying to find him into the top, get some shots in, but Infinite there with the flank comes in from behind to get the shots, but Blame with a double says, sorry, we're not letting you take a 2-round lead. We're going to tie things up here, 1-1. A nice double to stop things from getting a little dicey.
That is just really well played from a multitude of different players out from UFM, one of which was Decim. Again, you get that bomb planted for Michigan. Decim is the immediate go-to call-out, right? Is that they are up top in fire. That is the immediate go-to angle to be able to watch that bomb if it starts to get defused. Most importantly, because everybody from Northwood were so focus on that one player up top, it allowed Blame to do what Blame does, and they find 2 kills in the middle of the map. Now even things up here 1 apiece. Northwood Esports going to throw a wrench in the system, try to go their way over towards B, but Memory's going to be over here. To go 1 for 1 would be massive. To escape with their life would be even bigger, but can they even do that? No, not necessarily. As Bink, Fame, Chris, they just wiped the floor with the Wolverine players.
Look at how hyper-aggressive this push from Northwood onto B was. They flew. There was no hesitation in chasing down those kills, and that's what we talked about, Proper. We talked about how Northwood is going to push. They're going to get in your face. You cannot let them overwhelm you. And, well, that round was about as clean as you could ask for. They mop everyone up around B. They lock it down, and that'll be another offensive win for Northwood. We'll see, can they string together now a defense, something I'm not quite used to saying here on Tuscan, but Northwood, that hyper-aggression, they execute it without a worry. And now we'll see, Michigan, can you answer back? Can you keep things tied up? You had a nice clutch out of Blame 2 rounds ago. Can he do it again to keep you on the board? Again, Michigan, they are undefeated so far, and it looks like they're trying to get a nice takeover right now. They have all angles covered here for A. Talon with the first pick, and there the bomb plan will start to come in from Blame, looking to get it down. Hesitates for just a moment, but take a watch on the flank. Not only do you have Fame, but you have Radial up on top, and you got to turn around. If you're Talon, you're going to get shot in the back. Fame able to get one, gets tagged up. Can he get away with his life? He can get away with a double. On top of that, Northwood, they are looking real good for the fast defuse.
And Infinite's just going to hop on it, just expecting for the challenge to come all the way through. Memory couldn't even get through Chris. And, Fame was the resemblance of the search and destroy hamburglar there, getting away with their life, just quite honestly finessing their life over inside of the West Ruins just outside of Vines for far too long. Should have at least been a trade, at least the angle being held for a little while longer, but I was honestly really high on that offense for U of M, to be quite candid with you. Talon finding that first blood, you know, they dodged the set nades that Infinite was able to find value with through the first offense that U of M played for. It just came and crumbled very, very fast from a flank play. So now Chris back towards the sniper rifle. here on the offensive push. No B shenanigans, but a lot of consideration coming out from Michigan Esports that could end up fact being the play. Infinite tries to go for the plan again. It's starting to look like round one all over again. Katie, as Blame hits the middle of the map, will stop Infinite from planting that bomb and will give themselves at least an even look at things in the middle of the round.
Well, Fame now on a 4 spree, 1 kill away from earning himself streaks, and I think Infinite maybe give a little bit more respect to Michigan when you're trying to get those A plants as casually as he is. He's really not giving any time to wait out nades, potential tacks, and he's been killed twice now doing the exact same thing, but Bink gets a crucial kill, brings it to a 2-2. Fame, can you get the streaks? You can. Look at that. The immediate challenge wins it with some nice hip fire shots, and again, Michigan just seeming to have rounds potentially slip away from their fingers. Fame immediately calling one in, and Northwood, that'll be a win for them. And so many times now Michigan has had the man advantage, and Northwood just hyper aggressively cutting them down.
I think it's just the collection of information, especially when it comes down to search and destroy, is what Northwood are just exceedingly doing better than U of M. Even when the numbers advantage does exist for the Wolverines, the Timberwolves are just that much more eccentric at being able to collect off the information that they find, whether that's through set nades, whether that's through stuns, or anything else that needs to come in between for itself, or just the overall pure passion that Northwood Esports never really puts down the sticks. I think that Michigan Esports are just being quite literally outmaneuvered when it comes down to the information. Stuns off the rip will dissuade Michigan from trying to commit towards the A site, and you can see what it means for Blame with the bomb being carried. They thought about it, maybe trying to make a play happen over towards the rooftops, but because of all these nades that did come through, you now have to play off of a pick and wait for the timing to be able to work this plant, which Blame is feeling comfortable enough to do now.
He will be able to get that down. Can he escape unscathed? You're going to have 2 from Northwood at the top of that map. They're going to run right into Blame if he's not careful. And, well, Blame says, hello, radio, hello, Infinite. I'm going to send you into the wait timer for the next round. Lord Memory follows it up, and now it's all on Bink to do what he can. And, well, that's not much of anything. Michigan, that's probably the cleanest round we've seen from them so far. Keeps them alive.
All this was essentially one off of Blame. I mean, he did have help, keep in mind you, from Talon over by the monument. But even still, when you're looking at the grander scheme of things, talk about stones to be able to end up taking that challenge, knowing that you were going to have radio with the boomstick on the opposite side of the ruins, ends up finding both with the automaton. Medium close range does not matter for the bullet hose of the automaton. It has no discretion for who it goes up against. Now on 3 in a row. Blame has the opportunity to play for streaks, actually goes towards the boomstick, gets a hit marker of all things. Well, Wade Infinite from encroaching forward, but a nice set nade out from Blame will find their 4th in a row.
There we go. This is what you want to see. Blame starting to pick up on some of the aggression from Northwood and throw it right back in their face, and now on a 4 spree. Blame 1 away from some streaks. That'll be huge in helping Michigan get back into this. But I like that he's matching that same level of play. Northwood maybe not quite expecting it and getting caught out for it. We'll see as the bomb does go down, what sort of retake can Michigan take? They have man advantage. And you're going to see a play from Decim at the bottom of the map. Looked like he might want to do a long flank, but backs off as, again, Blame able to get another 5 in a row. Decim there, the trades back and forth, and now a 2v1 for Michigan as radio will fall. More than enough time to get the defuse, and Blame has come alive in this map.
That was such a massive play for Memory. Look, I know that the stun did not connect. They did not get the immediate information, Katie, but they still, their spidey senses were tingling still to check that contest corner, and wise enough to be able to then check it and then at least find damage for the trade to come all the way through. But you're right to call out one player in particular. It was Blame trying to at least make an argument in that Bocage hardpoint. Is now certainly making a even stronger argument as they're double plus some extra positive on that 5 streak, has that glide bomb to play with. Now it's just a 1-round deficit, but the offensive rounds need to be secured here if you are U of M. They are slow rolling their way through the middle of the map. Talon was able to find a very favorable gunfight last time around. Fame won't even be able to react from it. Early numbers lead here for the Wolverines.
Surprise, Fame maybe just not even seeing him. Sometimes visibility in that area of the map can be a bit tricky. Doesn't really shoot back. But Bank answering that first blood with a trade out makes it 3-3 as they converge on the bomb site. And, well, everyone over here for Michigan could get a little dicey unless Talon and Blame say, hey, you're going to swarm us, but we will punish that aggression and leave it all onto Bink to try and save the day. And it looks like we might have ourselves an even round count. Michigan is starting to counter Northwood very well, but Bink, he's able to get one. He knows that they're not over by that bomb site, gets tagged up, trying to work his way back through Church, back off, get some of that health back, goes for the challenge, but in the meantime, Talon will get the bomb down, start that timer. What can Bink do here to try and surprise these two?
Oh, man, I don't even think is going to try to go for the long route here. Needs to essentially fly. They even want to consider doing that. I mean, Blame's already fully streaked out. It's a great call to at least clear out the top side of fire, but now time is your immediate adversary. That's going to be the call button for Talon and Blame just to try to hunt down Bink going forward. And look left, look right. Definitely going to be happy if you're the mother that they look both ways before they cross the street, but it won't matter at all. That was a fantastic round coming out from U of M. Fantastic past few rounds, to be quite candid with you. Again, play Wolverine, Search and Destroy. Collect off of the unforced errors that you're getting out of Northwood. If they're going to be taking these over-aggressive challenges, you just have to almost, not necessarily hard read, but almost expect for them to come through in certain avenues at certain moments of time. That is what Search and Destroy can truly be all about, as Michigan are debt collecting off of the information and tendencies that they've seen out of Northwood on this offense, going back and forth, trying to figure out what even they want to do. Some nades coming out will at least concede the space for the time being. Some shots out from Talon on the opposite sides of the ruins. And but honestly, yeah, I was about to say, the way that they're playing so far back, Eddie, they are playing 100% off the streak. Does Fame get taken down from the glide bomb? Yes, they sure will. Wolverines with a defensive advantage in numbers.
And in a lot of these rounds that Michigan's winning, they are taking Fame out first. He's been a dominant presence for Northwood, and he's really not been able to play in the last 2 rounds of this S&D. 3 in a row for Michigan. Radial and Decim trading out kills, now put into a 2v2. Infinite will get that bomb down, but he's going to run right into who? None other than Blame. Now on a 9 streak, will lock down what he can do. And I like this. Goes for the fast defuse. Radial gonna get one shot in. Knows to check the bomb right away. Is he gonna check it fast enough? He does. Just barely. He was so close to that defuse.
Blame was a mustachio's hair away from getting that defuse. Let's cut this dry. Is that, yeah, Blame almost got away with some accuracy-esque plays of trying to go for that defuse. Doesn't end up playing out. Northwood Esports able to break the rounds in sequence. Wolverines really started fighting for themselves and really just cut down the momentum. I mean, Blame is 14-5 for crying out loud, but still up on map point here for Northwood. Offensive push coming out from the Wolverines will stun check inside of Church, but they're going to get stunned up in the middle of the map. Again, no information as far as where these players are located at. Does that may find a kill? No. Even find a hit marker, but at least space being provided for the bomb to be planted today.
Well, Fame's still alive, so far so good for him in this round. You don't want it to go to that round 11. Close it out here and give yourselves a 2-0 lead, but no first blood. Everyone playing so careful, but you got to be careful if you're about to get shot in the back, potentially. Radial and Infinite able to clear out the bomb site in the bottom of the map. Now Bink follows it up. Infinite with the final kill in Michigan. They only get one as they get picked apart in their 1v1s across the map. And an easy defuse. Northwood will close it out there 6-4. A great regain from Michigan, but I don't think you even get to see streak usage come out from them, as it was kind of a standoff for a little bit there, and then Northwood just pushed all at the same time and won every single one.
Yeah, I mean, you saw the glide bomb come out at least 2 rounds ago, right? At least defensively, to be able to put themselves in a numbers advantage to maybe try to course their way from getting certain map positioning, but that's just what we're going to almost expect coming out from the number 2 ranked team here. Northwood Esports, the Northwood University, the Timberwolves, whatever you decide to call them at the end of the day, they are decisive, to say the least. To be able to read, adapt, and quite frankly overcome in Search and Destroy is why they're going to be highly regarded as one of the top teams in CCL. If you can continuously read the tendencies of the enemy team, you're going to put yourself in a position to where you're going to constantly be able to thwart them as far as what their setups are concerned. In that pinch that came through from the top maps area, and then coordinating that over by the ruin side was just too potent for Michigan Esports to be able to walk away with, especially when you're thinking about individual gunfights, isolated 1v1s. Lord Memory was a non-benefactor at 1-9. Yeah, found some damage, but Blame, I don't care if you got a top 32 or a top 48 cup finish in a few different points in time. When Northwood Esports are sharing the legwork amongst the four of them, it's going to be a tough team to take down in Search.
They did a great job, though. I mean, lest we forget, they were down 4-1, and they did bring it back 4-4. They lose the 2 rounds after that, but they had a window of opportunity there, and they capitalized on it. But the problem is, Blame can go 14-6. That's great, but at some point, Lord Memory is going to need to come alive, especially if you have that 4-4 round count. Just do what you can on the map, and it just seems like maybe not comfortable, not able to find his footing. And I think at the same time, right, in those final rounds, Fame a bit more cautious because he knows that he's been killed off rip. He's been first-blooded multiple times. So I think in those final rounds that you were able to see, he played it just a touch slower and was able to stay alive. And you know what, Proper? It earned him the nice 6-4 win.
Absolutely the case, but we'll have to see if the Wolverines truly have an adamantium skeleton to try to combat him back and maybe put themselves as far as a reverse sweep is concerned. We're going to throw things to a very short break. When we come back, map number 3, a Gava 2 control is on the docket for us. Don't go anywhere. More College COD action coming your way right after this. What's up? Welcome back to College COD here on the Alpha stream. If you want to see the conclusion there that's happening over on Bravo, make sure that you go show Susano and mix some love at College COD Bravo. My name's Proper. Join with me is Katie, and we have a battle for the first place when it comes down to the Northeast Division A. And so far, Katie, well, the Timberwolves are certainly making an argument that they truly are the #1 team.
Yeah, it's, you know, been a battle with an asterisk attached to it, I think. I mean, take a look at that hard point. Wasn't even a contest for Northwood. Things got a little mixy when you got to see Michigan string 3 rounds in a row. They were down 4-1. They bring it to 4-4, and then they lose the final 2 rounds for Northwood to take a 2-0 lead. And now it's going to that Gavudu control. And I think it just feels like Michigan is reacting to Northwood right now. They're not being proactive in taking control of these maps. They can't seem to get ahead of what Northwood is doing, especially when it comes to their aggression. So I'm going to have to look at someone like Blame. He did a great job in the search and destroy. Can you find that same success against Northwood in this control? I mean, you're going to have to, Proper, if you even want to see a chance at a map 4.
You know, that's some clear-cut analysis right there, right? I mean, gotta win this map 3 if you are U of M to be able to at least keep yourself alive. Yeah, and John Madden comment of the night for sure between the two of us goes to you, Katie. Congrats. But I think, again, what you're mostly looking at for U of M, you bring up such a fantastic point, is that they need to be more proactive. The difference in between this Call of Duty, comparatively to the other 2 that we have going back to Cold War and Modern Warfare 2019, is that these split-second decisions, they need to come through in about a half a second to be able to then make that proactive move going forward. And the thing that Northwood are going to continuously do better than U of M is that they're not even going to hesitate to even make it a consideration, to even talk about, should I be doing this? Should Y be done? Should Z be done? It's going to be one of those things that they're just going to end up calming, this is happening. That they are just going to start yoinking away the map positioning away from U of M. And that was quite relevant when we go back to the Bocage hardpoint. Things got close in that search and destroy there on Tuscan, but things need to come alive for the Wolverines here on the beaches of the Solomon Isles here on Gava 2 if they want to stay alive. Very tough to say the least to be able to walk away from a Gava 2 control with a W, but if you can guarantee yourself that 5th and final round on defense, hell, more often than not, you can end up saying that you could probably have a favorable chance.
Fame, a fast push and a first blood to win him the opening volley here onto the point. He'll take out Lord Memory, and, well, we saw Fame feeling a little comfortable in chat during the break, and for a good reason, trying to recreate that energy. Unfortunately, who is it but the other player that was in chat? Blame takes him out, pushes him off the point, crucially before they were able to get that initial tick in. Now you'll have Michigan Esports back on A, just reducing as much of that time as they can. But the bigger problem here is that it's 26-22 as a kill lead. Make it 5 already for Northwood with the life advantage.
Look, Fame said that he was going to be calling out like Randy Savage, and he was going to put some individuals in the walls of Jericho. Now, as a wrestling fanatic, I got to say that that is a great call from 2 different generations as far as wrestlers are concerned. But the only person putting anybody inside of the walls of anything is Bink on a 6 spree, fully streaked out of their eyeballs. Should be dropping down to a player behind them, actually completely eludes them for the time being. And as they are chasing around. Player of Lord Memory is giving them the runaround. We'll meet them up top of the staircase. There's number 7 in a row for Bink. Not stopping anytime soon. Second tick of progress has already been tacked over. And if you're U of M, I mean, you just got to give it up. There's no reason for you to give any more lives. It is 23v14, and 60 seconds are about to be added on the board.
No, you're down 11 lives right now to Northwood. They have almost 2 minutes of time to work on B. You have to have a setup to pick them off as they make this push. And well, so far, it's not working out very well for you. You already have 2 members of Northwood pushed into your spawn. Radial is winning every kill he gets, make it 4 in a row for him. Now trying to get full streaks like what we just saw out of Bink. And Northwood's just running them down right now. Decim, a much needed double, but this is really just TDM at this point. It's 18-6.
Yep, you got a minute and 18 to be able to find these last 6 kills. To say that you have to play perfect control going forward, you have to preserve your life. Chris, what was that turnaround on the Talon? My word. Will, of course, be traded out there thanks to Blame. Actually, we'll end up finding a dropping from the heavens Bink there from the LSC. But here come those streaks. Radio wants to confirm this round for Northwood, and certainly making an argument for it going forward. Just 2v15, surely a winnable notion, you would have to assume, for Lord Memory and Blame. No, I'm just kidding at this point. Hey, this is an uphill battle, to say the least, as they can't even lock down one more kill. Decisive, to say the least, Katie.
Yeah, blink and round 1 was over. We'll see if maybe there can be an answer back in an offense here for Michigan, but I don't want to say they're playing as if they've already lost, but I need to see a little bit more out of you than that. We've talked about it, right? The biggest thing Northwood has going for them is their hyper-aggression. You have to be able to punish that. And Michigan, just a non-entity on the map in round number 1. And now here we can see the same kind of entry from them into the spawn point, into that first A point. But, well, Lord Memory loses the fight, whereas Fame was the one who won it when they were on offense. And look at this. Infinite, Fame, pushing so far forward to just force Michigan into the top left of that map. And, oh, this is looking like a disastrous start. They haven't even gotten to the point.
Only 2 kills to speak of this round so far for U of M. You got a lot of players just cutting you down over by the cliff path. Infinite's going to be waiting for the challenge. There comes Talon. There goes Talon. So now Infinite's going to take this as an opportunity to encroach forward inside of the enemy spawn. And, well, if you think you're safe on the other side, well, here is Bink, who is 10-3, by the way, still fully streaked out. Surely they get taken down. Yeah, Memory will be the, I guess, the undertaker in that specific notion. But the second that they try to put themselves up towards ring, Game's going to take them down in return. 14-3 from Radio, by the way. Does not go unnoticed. Chris, you're kind of popping off here, bud. You got to relax a little bit. Last player alive in the back will be Blame. 20 seconds remaining. It is 25v14, and Michigan just can't get out of their spot.
I mean, it just feels like the hope that Michigan had when they brought it to the 4-4 in the S&D, losing that map 6-4 has crushed their hopes. There is no energy in the way that this team is playing right now. Every single one of them is significantly negative. They couldn't get out of their spawn. They were down by another double-digit life amount for round 2, and this is looking like a decisive 3-0 here. Michigan just doesn't feel like they're in the series anymore.
It's tough, right? You know, again, this is something that I framed up in something that became very relevant in the opening respawn of Bokaj Hardpoint, is that it's speed, it's violence, momentum, or individuals with sunglasses and a mullet and a mustache that you can end up talking about Northwood Esports comparatively to Michigan. It's not that Michigan are a bad team, it's just comparatively to the pedigree that Bink, Fame, Radial, and Infinite hold between one another. It's going to take at least 6 blames to be able to deal with this team right now. It's very, very tough. And it's almost really demeaning when you're got to be considering what it's like inside of their comms. But here on the bounce,
it's 29-26.
Exactly. On the bounce, finally able to get themselves a favorable kill feed. The biggest issue of everything else going forward is that they have to consistently do this for the next few rounds.
I mean, hey, though, this is the best start we've seen from them. A 4-life lead now. Michigan, if they can lock this down, they can see some success here. And, well, Northwood still not able to get onto the point, make anything happen. But Bink, there you can see some of these streaks are to start coming out. They're clearly not happy with how this round is going, and they're still at that 4-kill deficit. And Michigan doing a great job of keeping that life buffer, forcing Northwood to be a little bit more careful on how they approach these points. But finally, with 26 seconds, you see Infinite on the point for just a fraction of a second before Lord Memory takes him out. And now this very well could be a defensive win for Michigan. You just need to hold on for a little bit longer. 18 to 21 lives for Michigan as the clock stops for just a second. Northwood, the best foothold they've had so far as they work to get that first tick in, but the trades coming in. Michigan finally looking like they've woken up so far on this map, but at the same time, Northwood, they'll get the first tick of A in with only 10 seconds left.
You got to be able to find all these different gunfights that are happening on all different fronts if you are Northwood, if you want to confirm this next few ticks of progress. Blame will find Fame looking towards the customs building. Now it comes down to Infinite up top, of which Blame will rock bottom them through the tank inside of the ship. Going forward, you have no opportunity for Northwood to get close towards the zone to stop that clock furthermore, and a hell of a round coming through from the Wolverines of University of Michigan, putting themselves in a round count there, making sure that it is not a 3-0. But now the big testament has to come around to consistently do just that. Going in towards an offensive round on Gava2, no less, Katie, is an uphill battle. But if they can continue on with the vigor that we just saw in that previous round, they are going to certainly make an argument for it.
Michigan certainly came alive. I mean, I said that they just looked like they weren't here at all, and they proved me wrong in round number 3 to keep their hopes alive in this series. Lord Memory opening it up with a first blood as well for the team. Bodes well for them, but Bink answering back with a double as they look to get onto that B site and start working on their time. Michigan, if you can get even early ticks in, it can be a huge advantage for you. And, well, Michigan, just like that, they've got the first tick in, progress at B. They've got the life lead, and, well, things are looking good. I mean, Bink doing what he can to ruin the party, but, I mean, hey, Michigan, they are here, and they are finally ready to shoot back.
I love the gut check call coming out from the Wolverines. Look, you go for broke. What else you got left to lose besides the series, I guess? But try to make a heads-up play to try to work your way over towards the B zone. Obviously, it comes up flat. But you know as well as I do, Katie, that at least if you get that first take of progress over towards B, you might give yourself an opportunity to work your way over towards A. The biggest issue is that now you have Radial finding spawn kills like that, and even if you try to work your way out, well, you're going to have a lot of different players for Northwood ready to cut down on the cross. You're looking at Fame over on the South Beach side, just waiting for players to surface themselves. Will, of course, be traded off by Memory off screen. Blame really struggling to find where Bink had ended up alluding to them on the top side of the LST ship. But even still, going forward, we're down to 30 seconds. It's 19v17. A lot of isolated gunfights need to come through for Michigan Esports if they want to get on one of these zones to stop the clock.
But Dustin, that was a great double kill to be able to get. It is a clear route over to B. If you can at least stop the clock, you're going to need to. You only have 20 seconds left, and you don't really have a very solid presence over at A. And there we go. You get at least Talon waiting, but the shot's coming in. Talon just saying, if I don't move, he can't see me. And, well, Fame getting some shots in, trying to find exactly where his body is. Blame just waiting for that push that he knows is going to come, and there he goes. Ready and waiting with the AR. Bink able to get a double. Still a fairly even life count for both of these teams, but unfortunately you get pushed off the point. The clock will begin to wind down. You had to get B there. You were so close. But Bink going on a 5 spree, securing so many streaks still. We have to remember as the time winds down that even if Michigan takes this and pushes it to a round 5, Northwood had a lot of streaks at their disposal, and now the final gasp. Can he do it? Unfortunately, no. The time winds down. Northwood will take the control 3-1.
Hey, it was a great resilience effort coming through there at the end for the Wolverines. Look, I will tip my hat to you, again, to not be overly deterred, to showcase your guts, your tenacity, to be able to then bounce back from getting absolutely milli-whopped in that first round, Katie. It doesn't go unnoticed. Again, to be able to really always make sure that you're telling yourself that the game is always winnable until... well, obviously until it isn't anymore, and then you see the Northwood Esports won the map. I gotta really appreciate that type of tenacity coming out from the Wolverines, living up to their moniker of their mascot. Again, being able to, quite frankly, go down swinging. That's exactly what I want to see out of any top team in the top 25. And albeit maybe you did not beat Northwood Esports, there's a reason why they are ranked number 2 as a team here in the CCL across the committee that does do those power rankings week in and week out. They showed a lot of strengths. Specifically Blame in that search and destroy, dropping somewhere near like 14 kills. and everybody was starting to really rally behind Blame sooner rather than later, that it just comes down to making sure that you're studying the VOD, making sure that everybody is at least not necessarily always playing in the scrims, but make sure everybody's on the same page to be able to value what Blame brings to the table. That if you can almost get a resemblance of what we saw from Northwood Esports, look, this Wolverines roster can absolutely take a lot of other top teams to the absolute brink. It was just a really tough matchup here in Week 5.
It was really tough, and there's definitely a world that exists where we see a map number 4. Michigan had the opportunity to win that search and destroy. Again, you were down 4-1, you bring it even, you can try and close it out. Unfortunately, they lose the next 2 rounds, but there were opportunities that I agree, go back, watch the VOD, figure out exactly what went wrong, but they could make this a series to watch. And I think this is one of those 3-0s that, well, maybe there's not a lot to talk about with map number 1 proper. I think this is one of those 3-0s that doesn't necessarily tell the entire story.
Absolutely. I mean, look, 100-point club on Bokaj.
Yeah, maybe that tells a story, but you know.
That certainly tells a story about the pace of which these Northwood individuals were definitely running through the entirety of the Wolverines. I mean, they come in hot and they come ready to play. That search and destroy, though, will be quite telling for University of Michigan going forward, that the Wolverines are absolutely a very strong search and destroy team. That was relevant when they were playing up against the Panthers last week, where they were making plays left, right, and center. I think that it just comes down to the pacing issue and the discrepancy as far as making sure that you understand that these split-second decisions cannot be communicated. You are not having a whole conversation about it. You have to be proactively making these moves going forward while you're having the same thought and idea to be able to make those plays happen. I've seen it from this Michigan roster, Katie, and I expect them to be able to really go back to the drawing board and come back even stronger in weeks to come. I mean, without it even being fully guaranteed, we still have a few more weeks to be played as far as this stage 1 is concerned here for the regular season of the CCL. But look, they're going to be a top 3 team. They're going to be facing even stiffer competition in this region going forward. That so long as they're able to showcase what they are offering for ourselves and continue to showcase growth of what we've seen from Week 1 until this very moment of time, I expect a bright future coming out of the Wolverines.
Well, look, at the end of the day, the best way to improve is to face the best teams. And you will have, if nothing else, a lot to learn and improve from by going back through those VODs, through this experience you had with Northwood, and shoring up some of the problems and some of the weaknesses that it revealed for your team. So that's what I always appreciate, is take away the fact that you played one of the best teams, and now you can learn and make yourself improve beyond where you are now because of that. So I think there's definitely bright spots to take away from it. Blame had an excellent series, played great essentially the entire time. So there's definitely improvements to be made here. So I think if you're Michigan, shake off the loss. Your future is very bright.
Absolutely the case. Well, that's going to do it for Katie and myself here on the broadcast. We had a great time covering over top of the St. Clair Saints versus Davenport and then Northwood versus the Wolverines that just concluded. We're going to throw things to a very short break, but on the opposite side, we're going to play some musical chairs here with the casters. We're going to get McCormiel and Cash in here to cast over a banger of a series for you all. You definitely want to sit in your seats, get hydrated, folks, because ICC Esports versus Ottawa Braves is coming your way on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere.